This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hello, sweet magic makers. What kind of witch are you? The chances are that you probably have a few different archetypes dancing around inside of you. And I decided to have some fun and come up with 11 of the classic witchy archetypes that I see in my travels, being a witch, mentoring witches, hanging out with witches on the internet quite often, and sometimes in real life too. Yes, some of you have met me in the wild. Okay, so I'm going to go through these 11 archetypes. Most of you are not likely to just be one of these archetypes. You're likely to be a combination of maybe 3 or 4 of them, maybe even more, but some of you less. I want you to listen to these brief descriptions of each archetype and tell me which ones you really relate to and which ones you see coming up in your practice. This is going to be very, very interesting. I'm very intrigued to know down in the comments which archetypes you relate to and you see in yourself as a witchy practitioner. Okay, let's get into it. Number 1, the conscious witch. This is an archetype that represents a kind of conscious mystic, essentially a witch that wants to do a lot of spells for collective justice. They think about witchcraft as being so much bigger than just a way to fix their personal problems and look at what is going on in their life. They are very interested in social justice. They're very interested in large-scale social change, and they want to direct at least 50% of their witchcraft, if not more, towards that kind of endeavor. So the conscious witch would use magic to spread awareness, to create equality, to heal the planet, that kind of thing. If you're a conscious witch, then you're definitely also going to be using your magic for things like self-development and shadow work, but you cannot ignore the moral duty that you feel towards having a revolutionary heart in your witchcraft and directing your witchcraft towards something bigger. And you probably think that being a witch is actually in itself a political act, and so you endeavor to behave that way and you endeavor to have a magical practice that reflects that quite often. If you're a conscious witch, then you are very much an idealist with hopes for a better, more united future, and you're probably also really interested in how the human shadow and the process of shadow work can help us to come to understand how that would be achieved. Conscious witches have a very deep sense of moral integrity, and that is something that colours the nature of their practice. Are you a conscious witch? Can you see this in yourself, and do you live this day to day? The second archetype is the Psych Witch. This is the kind of witch that really connects their witchcraft to human psychology and to things like emotional healing, inner child work, shadow work, looking at things like noticing red flags, setting boundaries, looking at human dynamics, like looking at how to cycle break, how to heal from generational trauma and familial trauma. A lot of the work that you do is going to be around healing the issues that you have been born into and that you've grown up around. So a lot of your witchcraft is a journey towards your own self-realization and self-actualization. And it's likely, if you are a psych witch, that you're very, very good at encouraging others to look at their own human psychology and how that relates to the world around them. Psych witches probably read just as many books about psychology as they read books about witchcraft. And actually, psych witches don't see a massively distinct difference between those two things. Like, your psychology books are on the same shelf probably as your witchcraft books. It's all mixed up together essentially. And whether or not you follow the psychological model in magic doesn't really matter, but a lot of psych witches do follow the psychological model. In other words, they really believe that the main thing that is happening in their spellcraft is self-transformative psychodrama. It is basically this interesting psychological dance that you do, and if you hit the right moves, you get to have some kind of breakthrough, some kind of psychological realization that makes you think and act and see things differently. You are utilizing witchcraft to face your fears, to confront your pain, to work with self-honesty. You're talking to your deities about the shadows that you're not witnessing and how you can strengthen yourself as a human being and how you can put better mindsets into place so that you can live the life that you dream of. Let me know, are you a psych witch? Number 3, absolutely no archetype list would be complete without this one. It is the pop culture witch, aka the meme witch. You are the type of witch that uses your favorite song lyrics as your incantations. You connect with dead rock stars instead of traditional ancient deities.
I want to break
You have built an astral altar in your favorite video game. You have a magical theory for every single popular franchise. You are definitely a playful witch with a very quirky outlook, and you pull from all of the different things that are happening in the cultural zeitgeist. You are very interested in niche stuff as well. Like you might have a particular, I don't know, old movie actress that you have like an encyclopedic knowledge of all of their films, and you actually use that, you take from that. Or you might have a specific anime character that is your ultimate deity and also your example, the mirror by which you live your life, and you have like a shrine to that anime deity of yours, basically. You like a mishmash of the serious and the silly, okay? You are working with both the absurd and the stuff that is more like, you know, basic mainstream witch stuff that we all work with. So a lot of whatever you're doing is going to be painted liberally with pop culture stuff, with niche stuff, with stuff that really you would not consider to be trad in any conceivable way, okay? It's very much about your preferences, the things that you love, the things that you like really nerd out over, the things that make you personally happy. And they don't need to be ancient and they don't need to be tried and tested. In fact, preferably for a pop culture witch, there is no book written about it and there is nobody else that's doing it apart from maybe a very small handful of you, and you can all get together and like bond over that essentially. Number 4 is the Geek Witch, aka the academia kind of witch, right? You are the witch that hits the books hard. You are a serious nerd for witchcraft. You understand a lot of the history of witchcraft. You read big, thick tomes, and you're interested in deliciously long essays about various different periods in witchcraft, various different traditions. You like to know the roots and the foundations of things, and you are a massive respecter of knowledge, and you have the discipline that it takes to keep drinking of that knowledge. And the more that you have, the more that you want. You are a voracious, eager pupil of the craft. For a geek witch, witchcraft is not just a set of tools, it's also a really dense, sacred tapestry that runs back through the history of time, and you are very interested in analysing and understanding that tapestry. So it's not just about the tools, it's about the understanding of the complete picture of what witchcraft is. Geek witches are usually very good at advising other witches on sort of areas that they might have a little bit of lack of knowledge of in some regard. So I have a few geek witches, okay, on speed dial essentially, that I request certain information from when I feel like I'm lacking in some understanding of where I need to go to research something or what something means or the historical context of something. So geek witches can be very useful to their communities if they choose to be, but very often what they like to be doing most of all is they like to have their nose in a bunch of books or articles, right? They've paid to go on one of those sites where you can download like long thesis on things, and they just basically enjoy doing that. They love nothing more than curling up and annotating books. They love nothing more than having the question that they're working on answering and delving into the information to answer it. So geek witches are not just practitioners, they are theorists, they are researchers. They are always sort of like following their nose to look for the next answer that they need about the information on something. Darlings, this video is sponsored by Skillshare, the amazing online learning platform for creatives. It's absolutely bursting with resources, courses and learning paths to help you feed your mind with information on subjects like business development, wellness and spirituality, crafting, scrapbooking, baking, you name it, they've got it. This place is your ideal treasure box. I know that if you're watching this video today, you're interested in learning more about yourself, so you might enjoy this course by Stephanie Neame, Silence and Curiosity, a guide to self-reflection and self-discovery. It helps you to explore your curiosities, tap into your discipline to be able to go after your true interests. It helps you break down your social conditioning so you can get rid of all that overwhelm from the outside noise and honor your true gifts. This course is deep and it is run by a creative powerhouse, guys. Stephanie is amazing. If you are one of the first 500 people to click the link in my description, you get 1 month free trial with Skillshare. There we go. Everybody's a winner. So click to grab your 1 month free trial, see what you can learn. Thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. The 5th archetype is the art witch. The art witches are creative, expressive, dramatic, theatrical. You actually combine your artistry with your spirituality. It's a Venn diagram and you live in the place where those two circles overlap. That is your happy place if you are an art witch. So writing, dancing, singing, composing, painting, all of that stuff, scrapbooking, crafting, all of those things are absolutely the central part of your craft. They're not just something that you bring in every now and again to add flavor. The art is the thing. The art is where the magic is happening, and you see artistry as being no different to alchemy. Art is king in your magic. A lot of the way that you do spells will be around like creating a piece of art that symbolizes the thing that you want, and in the execution of that piece of art, like that dance choreo or that painting or that poem or whatever, upon completing it, that is when the energy releases and the spell is cast. It's likely that you also scry using works of art, for example, or you do bibliomancy with books from your favorite poets or authors. So you're always bringing in the artistry of others and combining that with whatever your witchy intentions are. So it's not just your art, it's also the fact that the art that you imbibe becomes very much a bunch of sort of like powerful touchstones for you in your witchcraft. I know we've got a lot of art witches here. I know we do. Definitely put your hand up down in the comments. Let me know if archetype number 5 represents you at all. You know that it represents me, okay? I mean, look at this. I made this, okay? I made this and I consecrated it. Number 6, the Green Witch, aka the Cottagecore Witch. Okay, this is the witch that is definitely most in touch with the cycles and seasons of nature. A Green Witch or a Cottagecore Witch is likely to get so much more advice from touching the exposed roots of a tree or listening to the wind than they ever would be from sitting down in very organized devotion to a deity and asking the deity for advice, right? Green witches are far more about actually the voice and the language of the land and making sure that you are in harmony with the land. Green witches are great herbalists. Green witches are hearth witches. They want to witch in the kitchen. Their instinct is to witch with things that have grown out of the ground. Their instinct is to grow things out of the ground themselves. That is part of the majesty of the witchcraft journey for them. If you're a green witch, you probably work with a lot of animal energy. You work with a lot of plant energy. You probably have an aversion to a great deal of stuff. You're probably sort of consciously not consumerist. So unless it's like thrifted or it's found in nature, it's not probably going to be a part of your path. I don't think you're fucking ordering things on Amazon Prime every 5 minutes, put it that way. You might look like you just walked out of a Ren fair, possibly, or you might be, you know, in tea dresses or whatever it is, or like natural fabrics, but that's not always the case, okay? The green witches can be deceptive. They can come in all different shapes, sizes, and outfits. You do a lot of spells using food, you know, you bless your tea and you probably make your own tea or buy tea from other witches that make tea. You get the vibe, okay? It's all very green. It's more nature-based. It's a lot more earth-based on site. And so, yeah, let me know. Are you very, very much a green witch, hearth witch, cottage witch kind of vibe, cottagecore witch? Tell me in the comments. Number 7 is the urban witch. This is a witch that is particularly drawn to cityscapes, and you see city environments and more urban environments as places where magic is just like, it's literally coming off of the graffiti. It's coming off of the objects that you see on the ground. It is the hum of the traffic. It is the blur of all of the different fluorescent lights, like advertising different businesses. You are really tripping and vibing off of that. If you are an urban witch, then you are most alive and most at home in places that are buzzing with human beings, where you can hear overheard snippets of conversation, where the graffiti is giving you your next sign, and you really feel like even the number on a bus ticket is sacred numerology for you. You like to get lost in bustling city streets. You like to walk into a coffee shop and just go into that magician's mindset as you absorb everything that's going on in the comings and goings of people and strangers in the urban environment. City witches are very, very sure that the city is their friend and that they will get the answers that they need while they're in the midst of that urban landscape. Many urban witches who have convinced themselves of this came to do so slowly after they went to live in a big city and they were tormented by it and they were like, this is no place for a witch. And then eventually they came around to the fact that actually, why shouldn't it be? Why should I let the stereotype tell me that you can't witch in the middle of a massive bustling city? For other people, such as myself, for example, you were born with that sense that cities are the places where magic is made. It's not all about streetlights and subway tunnels, okay? And it's not for me either. I love a bit of the forest. I love a bit of the beach. But an urban witch is that type of witch that really is connected to those kinds of environments. If you relate to number 7, you might relate a little bit to number 8. the tech witch, okay? You are absolutely filled with techno joy. You will fully take your laptop and your speakers into sacred space with you. You do not feel that you need to turn your phone off to get a better connection. In fact, you are sure that Wi-Fi is like the ley lines of the modern age.
Yes, I love technology, always and forever.
Your Book of Shadows is definitely digital, 100%. There is no paper Book of Shadows probably anywhere in your possession. You do all of your planning and checking your moon phases using apps. You're not really paper oriented so much. Tech witches like to use the shuffle functionality on their Spotify to do bibliomancy, okay? So it's like audiomancy. You basically shuffle a massive playlist and whatever comes up is what it was supposed to be. You probably use a random number generator to be able to make decisions or find sacred numbers for yourself. You have a hard drive full of your sigils and your spells and everything else. You've got like a sacred hard drive with some witchy stickers on it. You might even use things like coding languages as magical languages. And if you code apps or programs, you probably put little magical winks in there. You know, I feel like tech witches really want to go as far as they can with the digital world. And they definitely want to go as far as they can in terms of using the internet as a magical tool. If you're a tech witch, you see the internet as the ultimate astral sorcerer's playground. You're very, very excited by the internet, the possibilities of it and what it is communicating to you whenever you're using it. And you probably like a little bit of a random jaunt, you know, you like to go down an internet rabbit hole and see what comes up out of that. And you will use that as a form of receiving sacred messages. Number 9, the aesthetic witch, aka the IG ready witch. Basically, this is a witch that loves working with aesthetics. You love the color, the texture, the sight, the sound of it, right? You love the drama of it all. You are very much about the way it looks, the way it feels, creating the ambience, working with different styles. You are highly interested in visual referencing. You are the type of witch that creates some kind of vision board / mood board of what you want your next altar concept to look like. To you, those things are not just, you know, little flourishes that are cute, but they're not really the main thing. For an aesthetic witch, that is the main thing, because you know that what you are looking at and what you're feeling and the kind of vibe that you're bringing together is really deeply affecting the core of what you're doing when you're witching. And so you do not dismiss aesthetics as something that is just shallow or it's kind of a finishing touch. Aesthetic witches are really into it. You are probably thinking about the placement of different objects on your altar. You're probably thinking about what kind of era or what kind of art style you are channeling when you're putting things together. You might be a bit of a perfectionist with the way that a spell looks and the tools that are used and the soundtrack for it. Everything has got to be really so much a cohesive vibe, and that is something that you're often thinking about. This may extend to the way that you dress all the time. You might have a very strong sense that you are a style witch. You are a wardrobe witch, okay? What you wear on the day-to-day is a form of enclosed cognition. You believe that what you wear has power. It sends out a certain message and it makes you feel a certain way. So all of your clothing pretty much is also a magical tool. Number 10 is the halfway witch, or the part-time witch. You are a witch some of the time, but you're a lot of other things. You may not truly have connected to the word witch to describe you totally or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? You come and go. You dip in and out of witchcraft, actually. Something keeps you returning to witchcraft resources, but you do have your fingers in some other pies as well, and you don't really like to make hard and fast decisions about your practices and ethics because you are sure that they are really not going to stay the same. And so you're always going to be a visitor, but you might not ever actually fully live here. And you know what? If that's you and you're listening to this right now, that's okay. Welcome, welcome. There is a seat at the table for you whenever you want to come back for a spot of lunch. You're always reassured by the presence of witchcraft and the availability of witchcraft, and you come back whenever you're in a little bit of a bind or an emergency, or just whenever the fancy takes you and you feel drawn to that part of yourself, but you will always drift off again or kind of hover on the perimeter. A halfway witch is probably never really going to be one that does things on the daily or really always considers how witchcraft is going to go into an annual calendar. And some sort of like halfway witches might feel a little bit bad about that or have imposter syndrome about that. And that's why I really wanted to put this one into the list of archetypes, because honestly, that's more of you than you realize. And it's actually okay. It actually is a witchy archetype that I have come across in my work with clients and with talks with my audience members over time. So it's okay. If you're a halfway witch, let us know down in the comments. No shame. Number 11 is the business witch, aka the witch at the end of the lane. You are a witch that people come to for insight and resources, and you have made your witchcraft into some kind of business. So you sell spell ingredients, you sell spell workings, you sell things that you've crafted. You are a witchcraft author. You sell astrological readings, Reiki, you sell tarot, whatever it is that you do. You're a business witch, baby. You're a pro. You have definitely built or are building a community, a strong community around your message, and you have built, whether you know it or not, some kind of legacy as a voice in witchcraft. So you've taken maybe what for some people would be considered the next step in seriousness if you ever have messages that you want to deliver, or you want to become a mentor to people who are newer in the craft, and you want to be able to help them, and you create resources to help them. This does not have to be the through line for all witches, and certainly for most witches it is not, but you as a pro witch, as a witch at the end of the lane, you decided that for you, you actually have things that you want to gather together into products and services. You have offerings and you are selling them. So you have kind of like another room in the house of your witchcraft. There's you as a practitioner, and there's also you as a resource provider. Business witches definitely have to do a little bit of a strange dance between wearing those two hats, and sometimes they come together amazingly as one, and you might end up like doing a ritual with your community, for example, something like that, or taking part in some kind of incredible group activity where you all can receive the wisdom of the insights and the resources that you have. But there definitely also has to be things like, you know, terms and conditions and business policies and, you know, doing your accounting and all of that shit. So when there is an aspect of your witchcraft that is also a business, there is definitely that other hat that you wear and that other part that you have to play. There's a lot going on, cooking in the cauldron behind the scenes if you are a witch at the end of the lane. Darlings, it's been amazing to share with you these 11 witchcraft archetypes. Please tell me, which combination of them do you see in yourself? And were you surprised by any of the archetypes that you connected with during the course of this video? If you would like to work with me one-on-one, doing some witchcraft mentoring so we can really lean into what is going on with your practice and make you into the best kind of practitioner you can be, then you can go to my online store and book a witchy brainstorming session. They are right there for you. And there is also a plethora of other readings, sessions and resources that you can check out. So go ahead and do that. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. It is always a pleasure to partner with Skillshare, and don't forget to use the link in the down bar to go over and grab your free trial. Until next time, my sweet witches of every conceivable stripe, much love and blessed be. Keep it rebellious, darlings. Mwah.